Okay, I will also record this meeting. So for anyone who hasn't managed to join us or will have to go and prepare dinner or anything, you can always watch it in return or backwards. So let's start. Today we're going to talk about confidence. As we all know, we're super excited about it. Uh, it's an issue I come across very often. So, as a mentee coordinator and the mentoring program coordinator, I talk with all the mentees, and oftentimes they discuss confidence as being the key issue. So, I'm very happy that we're going to learn a bit more about it tonight with our amazing speakers. Forgot to introduce myself. So, my name is Gabby. Great to meet the all of you, actually. Um, Let me talk a little bit about Femme Palette. As you all know, it's a community supporting women in their professional development. Apart from online community, we also offer events like these, and it's great to see so many of you here. So thank you so much for joining us. We also offer mentoring programs. So it can be one-on-one mentoring that goes on an ongoing basis, or you can join our leadership program where you're part of a 12-member strong community and collaborate with like-minded women. Or we have a brand new program, which is coaching and mentoring, which means that and the first part of the program, you discuss with the coach what your goals are, and they help you identify what specific SMART goals you might have, and then we match you with the mentor on 101. So that's a little bit about Femme Palette. Thank you for joining us for one of those events as well. The next one is planned in 2 weeks' time, but let me not go into that just yet. Now I'd like to welcome everyone here. There's 28 participants already, which is great. And there's probably going to be a few more people joining as we go. So thank you, all of you, for being on time. Let's dive in. We have two speakers, David and Arno. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I will need to ask you to unmute yourself again. Everyone's on mute now.
Well, you are at a good start, so I thought that you were going to continue and do the presentation for us, but thank you. We are very happy to be here.
Thank you, everybody. Super happy to be here with Femme Palette. This is a very interesting topic for us, and hopefully, I'm sure we'll have some technical difficulties at some point because we have a poll for you, and we're going to share some slides. And let's just jump right in. I'll share right now, and hopefully that'll work really well. So. I'm going to go into present mode, so you can tell me if you still see the presentation. Somebody give me a thumbs up or something cool about present. Great, thank you. So confidence is a consequence is the name of our presentation today. We want to kind of turn confidence on its head because so many people, we know confidence helps us make more money, get better opportunities, helps us get better relationships, helps us make strides forward in our life. But so many people seem to struggle with it. And we know from talking to you all and from speaking with the organizers of the Femme Palette community that this is especially something very salient in your community here, and something that more women seem to struggle with than men. You had a presentation last year about confidence that shared some really amazing statistics about confidence and how men and women answer different questions differently about their own confidence. We're not going to get into that because you've already had all that information already. But we are going to get into some of the explanation of why actually women are less confident than men. So we're going to unpack confidence. And hopefully we're going to give you some ideas today that you have never really thought about before in the context of confidence. And they're ideas that we believe can help you make jumps in this area and really become the bolder version of you that you already actually have inside. So let's continue and see what we can do here. We're going to answer two questions. Why is confidence such a problem? And what do we do about it? And we're going to do that in three parts. We're going to tell you first, we're going to wonder and ask the question, how do we know confidence even exists? You know, we're just assuming there's this thing called confidence. You know, all of us have attended seminars already on confidence. So maybe we should just double down on the idea, how do we really know it exists? Let's look at how we know it's there. And then 3 lessons of confidence from something we call the 3 spirits, which we're excited to tell you about. And third, a physical experience of more confidence. We really are going to try to make sure we have time for this, because it's an ending exercise that we're going to do for you. And it's a visualization we're going to take you through. So stay tuned for that at the end of this session today. So hopefully that is exciting enough for us to proceed. All right. And now it's time to introduce ourselves, let you tell a little bit, let you get to know us a little bit better. So my name is David Papa, and with me is my business partner, co-creator of 3 Spirits Coaching, Arnaud. I don't know, you might be just in speaker mode, so you might just be seeing me, but I'm going to let Arnaud introduce himself first. Arnaud, please share yourself with Femme Palette.
Well, with great pleasure. Yeah, so you know how many people spend their whole life running after success and hoping that once they get this success, life will be good, they will find peace, they will be happy. So that was me for the first 30 years of my life. Basically, I was running after some success mirage or illusions. And I reached both of these success by age 30. And when I realized that I still wasn't feeling happy and fulfilled, I stopped what I was doing. And I got into self-development, spirituality. I made some research on myself. I learned from a lot of people, and I'm still learning. And this gave birth to the peaceful creativity philosophy that in turn resulted in what we're presenting you today, the 3 Spirits coaching method. So now that's how I spend my days. I coach people who work hard, who want to achieve something, and I coach them so that they do achieve what they want to achieve, but that they also enjoy the path. And I think David and I, well, no, I don't think, I know that David and I have a common mission, but he expresses it in a slightly different manner. So David, why don't you tell us more about yourself?
Oh, thanks, Arnaud. Gracious of you. Happy to. So, yeah, my name is David Papa. Very happy to be here with you. I've been full-time as a coach since 2013, and most of my work has happened in the corporate world. I've taught and trained hundreds of leaders around the world in many different companies, many very interesting companies, and and I'll tell you a little bit about that journey as we get into some of the confidence information. But really, you know, I didn't just get there kind of fluidly. I didn't get there so easily. You know, in my 20s, my life was set up exactly as it should be. You know, I had a job, a good job in a great industry, a fun industry with really fun people. I lived in a really good neighborhood with friends. I had a lot of free time that I spent with my friends, and I had a relationship that ticked every box on paper, you know, and looked really good. From the outside, it seemed like everything was great. Inside my life, I was miserable, and I didn't understand why. I did everything I was supposed to do. I made all the right practical decisions, and I was totally unhappy. So the first thing that started to break down is my relationship. And that was a gift. I was terrified of that at first, but the relationship broke down and ended. And I started to review everything in my life and realized that there was something driving my decisions that I wasn't aware of that was the reason I was unhappy. So I decided to go try again. and did something, try a different path. So I, went to business school and got a master's in business. I redefined my career. I got exactly the job I wanted after business school. I then moved cities. I lived exactly in the city I wanted. I had another relationship that I was in that I was like, this is the one. This is the relationship. And oops, once again, it turned out after a couple of years of that combination, when I looked around, I had all the boxes ticked and I was still absolutely miserable. I won't say absolutely miserable, but my life was not working and I had periods of depression. So that was the end for me. After doing that twice, after trying to live my life by how my brain thinks my life should be, by the rules I had in my brain, I quit everything. I dropped my relationship. I switched countries. I left my job without anything lined up. And I gave myself actually time to learn who I really was. And it was in that time that I really got deep into spirituality, personal development, coaching. And when I saw really clearly what my path was supposed to be. And I'll share more of that. I'll share more of that later. But that's how and then 8 years later, I'm here now giving this presentation. And I live in Prague, even though I grew up mostly in the United States. So thanks very much for listening to those stories. Maybe they brought up some questions for you. Arnaud and I both love to talk about our stories. So at any time, please drop some questions in the chat. And we want to divert what we're talking about to what you're specifically interested in. And that actually brings me to our next point, some housekeeping. Arnaud, do you want to share?
Yeah, of course. So how to get the most out of this webinar? First of all, get a notebook or something to take some notes, because we were reviewing the content that we've prepared for you today, and I think we overdid it a little bit. I hope that we're going to manage to go through all of it, because there's a ton of info there, and they're all info that are tried and tested on us, on ourselves, and on our clients, so we know they work. Also, there are going to be some practical exercises. So if you are, it's ideally you want to be in a space where you won't be disturbed, because there's going to be some meditation exercise that we're going to do around the theme of confidence. And then, as David just said, please ask us some question, write it in the chat. I have the chat open here, I'm monitoring it, and we're going to try and react as soon as possible when you send it. There's going to be a dedicated time for questions at the end of the session, but don't wait for the end. Ask your question as they come toward you. And in general, if you're interested in the philosophy that I mentioned earlier in the Three Spirits Coaching, you can go to threespiritscoaching.com and you can find more information there, including a PDF that's about 3 ways to enjoy your life more right now. And without any further ado, we can probably start into the first question of today, which is, what if confidence is a myth?
Yeah. So part 1, does confidence exist? So before I tell you more about our story, before I tell you more of our story in this story time part that gets to this question, why don't we hear from you guys very quickly? You've all graciously joined us for this, and let's just start the interaction right now. In the chat box, please let us know, what are the things in life that you feel not confident in? You don't have to give any specific scenario, but let's just see is it work? Is it money? Is it relationships? Just give us the general theme of what area of your life causes you the biggest confidence struggles. And let's see what we got. Let's see what comes up in the chat. So Arnaud is in the chat. I'm also going to try to watch the chat as well, just right now. Yeah, public speaking. Great. Thank you. Good one. Yeah, public speaking in the US, apparently that's the #1 fear above death. I'm sure you've heard that before. So private relationships. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, Veronica. Appreciate that. Yeah. What else? What general area of your life is the one that gives you the most, interaction with the boss?
With my boss.
Yeah, great. Yeah. What's the purpose of me being alive? Oh my God, what a beautiful, huge question. I would love to talk to you for like 3 hours about that question. Work. Yeah, work.
I think Rihanna is connected, because here we have work.
Yeah, Rihanna's in the webinar. Imposter syndrome. Yeah, imposter syndrome. Yeah, for sure. Work challenges. Yeah, work. Okay. First time experiences. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
David, when I see, when I see imposter syndrome popping up, I think I want to change the story that I planned for today to talk about the other one, because one of my clients was struggling big time with imposter syndrome. So I might switch the story for later.
Okay. All right. Great. Work, relationships, my direction. Yeah. Work and relationships, family. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much all for sharing that.
Thank
You
you.
know, we can see that all of us are, it's very varied, but all of us have big parts of our lives where we really feel like we lack confidence. And I think just connecting and hearing each other share that in the moment, that already, maybe people's nervous systems are already relaxing a little bit. And really, we're not in this alone. You are not in it alone to figure out how to find direction in your life, to figure out how to navigate your family and your work relationships, imposter syndrome. What is the purpose of you being here? You are not designed to figure that out alone. I just really want to say that. Leverage the people in this community, leverage other people that come into your life, leverage us if you want. Humans are designed to have insights together. So just keep that in mind, because it can feel very lonely when we don't have confidence in a certain area of our life, and we can absorb this idea that we have to figure it out all by ourselves, that there's just these heroes out there who have it all figured out and they did it and they figured it out by themselves. That's completely a myth. So let's just leave that myth on the side right now and make the commitment to work together on these things. And that also gets us to the idea of another possible myth. Returning to the presentation, does confidence exist? So let me tell you about how I started working for myself. It's in continuation of the story of my introduction. When I left everything, country, job, relationship, with nothing lined up, I gave myself a minimum of 3 months to really understand myself. The first 6 weeks, I spent basically just reading, meditating, doing yoga, playing a lot of video games. And I moved to a town where I really didn't have any friends. So I was mostly alone. I had some family members in that town, but I didn't really know anybody. And it took me about 6 weeks to just start to get space from the previous version of my life and stop trying to solve my problem of what's my next job going to be? Where's my career going? And people thought I was crazy to do this. I had friends who told me, how are you going to explain this gap in your resume? You're just going to take a break and do nothing. You're just going to eat up your savings. Like, what are you doing? This makes no sense. And it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense. But as I mentioned, all the ways of making decisions in my life that I thought made sense had just led me into unhappiness. So after these 6 weeks happened, I started to get a new view of myself. And I was volunteering at a spiritual center, trying all kinds of really woo weird stuff. I was just trying to get a taste of what's even possible outside of my mental frameworks. And about 2.5 months in, I was sitting in a meditation, and all of a sudden I realized that all those good jobs I had, all those great relationships I was in, those places I lived that weren't actually making me happy, I had chosen those things mostly because of fear. And that almost all the decisions in my life were actually what I thought were practical, good decisions, actually underneath were coming from a place of fear. I was so terrified of failing, of what other people would think of me, of being good enough, of being a good boy, of doing the right thing, that all that fear was actually why I had chosen my paths. And it was no wonder that I was unhappy. Even if all the check boxes are ticked, how can I be happy if my choice actually underneath was made from fear? So I decided, well, how do I want to live my life? I want to live my life from love. I want to make decisions in my life from a place of loving myself and loving life, and from the energy of love, not from fear. Okay, How do I do that? I didn't even know. But then it all of a sudden simultaneously dawned on me that the whole business world, all my experience in my previous jobs, of course I wasn't happy in them, because those companies, those leaders, they were making decisions mostly run by fear, fear of competition, fear of sharing their best ideas, all kinds of the fears that are in the workplace. And what I wanted to do was to end that, to actually make workplaces based on love, because I believe that was the type of workplace people would absolutely love to work in. And I realized, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do with my work. How am I going to do it? I have no idea. I have no idea how to do it. But I did. From that moment, I started working for myself. From that moment, it was clear to me I wasn't going to go back to another job, that I had to work for myself or find a way to work on this issue. So that led me to taking all kinds of bold actions. It led me to, the last 8 years of having a very successful corporate coaching business and also a successful individual coaching business. So how did that happen? Did I have confidence to do that? Did I have confidence to create my businesses? No, I never had the confidence. I had no idea what I was doing. I was terrified every step of the way. So what really was going on? Because other people, when they looked, they asked me all the time, how did you have the confidence to do this? How did you have the confidence to work for yourself? When they saw me in meetings, when they saw me coaching people, when they saw me giving presentations, oh, you seem like you're really confident. How did you do this? The answer is there was no confidence. It only looks like that on the outside. So this is the first idea about, does confidence exist? Confidence is something we see on the outside. Most people who seem confident are just don't show it. They're actually probably uncertain, probably anxious, maybe even terrified, and they're still acting anyway. And when you put yourself in the right positions and you're taking the actions that really match for you, you end up getting in a zone. Energy starts to come through you and you just perform in the moment. But you never said to yourself, I had confidence to do that. So I'm not sure actually, confidence really exists, because I never had it. I was just taking actions that I could take along the way. So how do we take that action? How do we make sure we take that action, even when we don't know the outcome, even when we're uncertain, even when we're anxious or terrified?
David,
Well, yeah.
Can I just jump in just to back up what you just said?
Yeah.
So a friend of mine went through a dramatic change within 3 years. She went from alcoholic, drug abuse, depressive, to healthy relationship, vegan, and by the way, European champion of weightlifting in 3 years. And what she was telling to me that stuck with me all these years is that at every step of the way, I mean, from the outside, she looked like the most confident person who has everything figured out, just like David just said. How did you do it? How did you do it? Every step of the way, she had this voice in her head telling her, you're not going to make it. This is too difficult. You might have managed what you've done before, but the next step will be your last one. So this goes even into what David was saying now, that does confidence really exists? I mean, which proof do we have that confidence exists at all? And that it means what we make it to mean. So that I really vibe with that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So I, just like that woman, it was the same. It was the same for me. I just kept acting one foot in front of the other. And when you talk to so many people who have accomplished amazing things, they're able to take action. They have a belief that success is possible, but they are not certain along the way. There are so many moments that make them feel absolutely terrified. So maybe this thing we think is confident isn't like some quality. It's just we're able to take action anyway. So that's the next question. How do we take that action? Well, in my story, what I learned was that you will naturally take the bold actions you need to take in your life when you find something inside of yourself that's worth more than your safety. So when I found this part of me that just so believed and resonated with wanting to make workplaces wanted to make love a central aspect of workplaces. That idea sounded stupid to my logical mind. No one's going to buy this. How are you even going to explain this? How can you make a business out of this? I had absolutely no clue. But the purpose of it, the sense that I was going to be doing something important, the sense that, no, this is me. This is what I want to model with my life. This is the attitude I want to take in my life. I found something that was more important than me not knowing, that was more important than having any answers. That was more important than the fear of trying to work for myself. I mean, I had depleted all my savings, you know, I had no idea what my next steps were, but it was just so clear to me. I had to try, I had to do it because I found something that was worth more to me than my fear, than my safety. So what are examples of those things? Again, for you, you can find something about your identity, something about how you want to live your life, something in your values, a vision or purpose that you feel like this is worth more than me being safe. But you have to give yourself time and space and reflection to find that. But all of us have that inside. And when you find that, you naturally take the bold action anyway, without confidence. So once again, maybe we don't need it. Maybe it doesn't exist. There's a third idea that I want to add to this story, that you will also naturally take bold action when you see somebody else doing it. So I would say the largest contributor to my ability to basically pay my bills and much more in the last 8 years working for myself was that as soon as I realized I had to do it, I literally had no clue where to start, that I think that was a blessing, because instead of trying things on my own, one of the first things I did was I just looked in my network for who was actually living that life that I thought I wanted. And I found there's an amazing executive coach who had been doing it for years, who taught at my business school. And I just asked him out to lunch. And I said, hey, listen, your life, what you do, that's what I want. Do you remember this thing called apprentices? I just want to be your apprentice. I'll do whatever you tell me. I'll help you on whatever project you want. I have no idea how to do what you do. I want to learn everything from you. Like just let me help you. And he laughed at me, just like Arnaud gave a little laugh just then. He laughed at me. And then 2 weeks later, he called me and he said, you know what? A project just came up that I could use some help with. And you actually have some previous marketing experience. And this project includes some of that, as well as coaching. So why don't you help me on this project? We can see how it goes. And literally since then, we've worked on, maybe 60 projects together, huge clients. I'm now a partner in one of his businesses. I brought him in on other projects. I mean, that relationship completely changed my life. And actually just literally experiencing what he was doing, not reading about it in a book, not watching in a video, not trying to take a course, but literally experiencing it firsthand by just attaching myself to him, and him getting value from that also experience as well, is what allowed me to take the bold action. So, in summary, does confidence exist? No. Stop trying to get it. Let it go. It's not about you knowing the answers or actually ever being confident. In fact, if you can embrace this idea, I will never have confidence, but I will still act, take risks, and grow anyway, but I never actually have to have confidence, you're going to find yourself taking leaps in your life. Yeah. And what is actually a better source? Find the thing inside of you worth more than your safety, and find someone else who is actually doing it, what you want, and experience it firsthand. And you will naturally take those bold actions, even though every step of the way, your brain is fighting you.
Let me jump in just to show how meta what you said is, because that's actually what happened to your life, David. You were in this school, there was this business executive that you've never talked with before, and it wasn't easy. It would take courage or confidence to go and talk to that person. But you didn't need to have confidence, because you find something inside yourself that was worth more than your safety. You're like, if I go out there and I talk to this person, things might happen. And the reason why I was laughing when you were telling this story is that I know the details of how much reward you got from this one little act of confidence, which we don't need to call confidence, because that's another point. Confidence is fakeable. If you fake confidence, that's still confidence. You're still doing it, still have the same outcome in the external world. So that's why I loved it, because in that moment you just like pushed the area of your comfort zone, so to say. It was worth more than your safety. You went to talk to this person, and 8 years later, it's incredible, the return on investment that you had from this one little extra push.
Yeah. And it's because I embraced that I had no idea. I embraced that I had no confidence, that I was actually able to have that conversation, So it's not about the confidence. It's about these two things. Find something that's worth more than your safety, like your values, purpose, vision, identity, and experience firsthand a future version of yourself, like a mentor or someone else already doing what you want, becoming an apprentice. You can also get information from your own future self. And that is going to be the activity we run at the end of the session, with time permitting. And we definitely should make sure we have time for that. So
yeah, we need to speed up.
Yeah. So let's move forward now and move into part 2, which Arnaud will take you through the introduction.
Of course. Thank you. So how to do what David just shared. He shared some stories. He shared some directions, how to take actions so that your life is impacted and confidence comes into your life as a consequence, or the illusion of confidence, because that's all that you need, really. So we've built this coaching system called the 3 spirits because we've noticed initially that there was an imbalance in some people. We first noticed one spirit, and then we realized that it's a triad. It's 3 spirits that work together. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the 3 spirits, and then we're going to ask you to rate yourself on each of those 3 spirits so that we can find your imbalance, and we will tailor the end of this presentation toward your needs. So the first spirits, David, can you put him on screen, please?
Yeah. I just want to mention, so what we're asking you guys to do is rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. As Arnaud describes each of these spirits, or at least 2 out of the 3, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 of how much you use the energy of these spirits in your life, how much you actually spend time and energy with these skills and approaches in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we'll see at the end. Yeah. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So the first spirits displayed here is the inner artist. And that's the one that kind of gave us a clue of what was really missing in most of the self-development world, David and I. And that's how we came up with the 3 spirits. So the inner artist is the creative part of yourself. It's the part that innovates, that try things. It's the part that play, that has fun in everyday activities. That's the artistic part. And as it relates to confidence, that's the part that doesn't fear failure. Because the energy is very childlike. A child who fall, at the playground, it doesn't stay on the ground and like, oh my God, I fell, I'll never, stand again. This is over. It just cries a little bit and then it stands and it keeps playing. Failure doesn't matter. Failure doesn't exist. So there's a lot of confidence actually in the way a child acts. And this is represented by the power of the inner artist. David, you want to take the next spirit, please?
Sure. So actually, I'll back up one. So just rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on a piece of paper near you. How much do you incorporate the childlike wonder and play just for the sake of playing and creating in your life? On a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is the most, 1 is the least. That innovative spirit, just trying things for the sake of it, 1 to 10. Okay. Give yourself that rating. Great. So the next spirit is the peace finder. The peace finder is, the kind of energy and spirit that, you are invoking whenever you do mindfulness or meditation, whenever you engage in some type of spiritual pursuit. And this spirit is all about helping you rest, recharge, and heal on the inside to find your center. And some of some of her practices, you know, include self-love and include time for yourself and include rest, relaxation in a kind of a self-healing way, self-care. You know, all of those things, finding your center, who you really are in the center, where you have a stillness, regardless of what's going on around you and outside of you. This exists in all of us, and all of us are able to find this. Sometimes it takes a bit longer than, you know, to find it all because of other things going on inside us, but it's always there in each one of us. So rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how much time and energy you focus on those kind of activities in that part of your life.
Great. And the third spirit is the flow master. The flow master roles is to organize your external circumstances so that your life flows, so that your life is more easy. So this is the part that would, for example, set up your calendar, set up your daily priority, use the Pomodoro techniques, but also the part that would make some mental projection in the future. What do I want my life to look like in 1 year, in 5 years? What do I want people to say when I just died, you know, like 50, 60 years from now? Which meaning does my life will have had at this point? So it's really about organizing things so that then life can flow and the energy of the inner child can flow, and you can, thanks to the peace finder, find back your center. So because the peace finder needs some space to find center, which means that if you receive 20 phone call a day and that's your door is badly locked and your child are running all around and you don't know what time is your dentist appointment, it's difficult to say, hey, you know what, let me find my center. It's possible, but it's more challenging. So the flow master is here to organize the exterior circumstances. So again, rate this spirit from 1 to 10. How much energy do you give to this part of your life? And we're going to let you a few moments just to finish this writing, and then we're going to do a poll, right, David?
Yeah. So I'm going to pause the share. So Arnaud, do you see? Actually, I'm just going to. Do you see just like a blank screen where I'm sharing stuff, or does it back to like the full view of the cameras?
No, I still see the presentation right now.
Oh, okay, weird. I'm going to stop the share then, so that we have just for the moment, so that we have see each other, and I'm going to launch this poll. So all of you rated yourself. So here's the first poll question. Which of these three spirits is most active in your life? So which one did you give the highest rating to? Let's see, there's 42 participants here. So, or I guess 39 minus Arnaud and myself and Femme Paulette. So let's see, we got 21 votes, 23 votes, 27 votes.
It's fun. It's like a race, you know, who will win?
Yeah, so we're in 35 votes out of 39. So great. Thank you very much. I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results with you. So, you know, kind of very strongly, you all are in mostly flow master energy. And that's understandable. In our modern life, very often the flow master energy is the one we're encouraged to do the most. Most personal development is focused on flow master stuff. And much less and some is focused on peace finder, and almost none is focused on inner artist. So, you know, this is not surprising. I will say that, I mean, the flow master is also a very masculine energy, and in the current modern business world, it is a very masculine driven world, and we need to change that. You know, that's not actually serving us to the highest level of humanity that can be served. So, you know, when we get pulled into this kind of masculine succeed energy, but we need to balance it more with the feminine energy and the childlike energy of the other two spirits as well. So, you know, yeah, so that's something, especially for women, that can happen is that I've seen in many women I've coached is that they really kind of adopt like a very masculine approach, and they devalue that nurturing, self-caring, loving feminine part of themselves, and they devalue that childlike wonder, creative part of themselves. And we want to help you change that, because we think that those parts are and more empowered women with those parts active is what we need actually to help the world. That's one of the reasons we wanted to do this presentation. So for Femme Palette. So, okay, that's the one you guys are most active in your life. So I'm going to stop that poll. And we got a second poll here. And you might guess the question already. Which of the three spirits is least active in your life? So which spirit did you give the lowest number to?
Oh, we have a tie. It's tied.
It's tied, but we only have 28 of the votes in. Okay, 31 of the votes.
Oh, and the bets are on. The bets are on. All my
32.
money goes to
33 votes.
Come on,
82%.
artist, you can do it. You can do it. 7 more people. Actually, 5 more people.
A few more votes. Just a couple more seconds. I know you guys can't see what we're seeing. It's very exciting to see the results coming in.
I'm sorry.
But no, it's okay. We're almost we're tied. Okay, great. I'm going to end the poll now.
Just to describe, we could see just what looks like a race of there are the three spirits, and you guys, the more you vote, the more the lines were moving. So it was pretty, exciting. So I saw that you could see it as well. Sorry.
And here is the results. So it's very close between the inner artist and the peace finder, which are least active in your life. Okay. So thank you very much for that. We're going to go through now. And, we were just, I mean, is this interesting to see? Is this interesting to see that your colleagues are, how your colleagues are balancing these things? And, again, you're not in this alone. All of us on some level are struggling with one of these areas. So, even in the Flow Master, 7 of you mentioned that that's the least active in your life. So, we're going to go through the inner artist, the peace finder, and then the Flow Master quickly, because we want to make sure to give you that experience at the end. I mean, we're really going to be able to take a couple minutes on each one. But that's okay, because each one has a single lesson and a single exercise to take away for you that is going to help you create that natural seeming confidence as a consequence. You're just gonna be able to take that bold action more naturally.
Yeah.
So let's jump into these, and hopefully we'll even have some time for questions at the end, but we'll see. Okay, great.
All right. So I'll go right away with the inner artist, because that's almost a tie with the peace finder for the least active in your lives. So I had this client who was a successful actress in Paris, who would tour the whole country with her, with her group of theater performer. But she didn't have the confidence to create by herself. Something happened in her childhood that the message that was given to her, and a message that is given to a lot of us, is no, don't go alone, and art is not a serious path. So there was some limitation there. After we worked together, and I'm going to tell you in a bit how we worked together, she managed to completely invert that. And she managed to not only start to create on solo, but to the point that she took a video editing course that leads to some very successful YouTube videos. And it gave her the possibility to have the confidence to create her own theater play in 30 years. She created one when she was a child, then 30 years of block. No, I cannot create by myself. I don't have the confidence to do it. And then she writes it. So how did we do it? We set for her a dedicated time, because the inner artist is a childlike energy, and children are very self-centered. I talked about the fact that they are not afraid of failure, but they're also very self-centered. They take care of their need first. So we've set a dedicated time for her every day, where it was a ritual. She would go to a separate room, and for 5 to 10 minutes, she would create whatever she wanted. Sometimes she would write, sometimes she would play the cello, sometimes she would paint or draw, whatever. But that was her time for her own inner artist to know that it's okay to express yourself. And that's the lesson here. And that's the exercise that we have for you. Find for the next week or so, 5 to 10 minutes just for you during the day to do whatever you want creatively. And if you do that regularly, every day, even if you don't see the point, why should I do that? Trust us, this will spill out to the rest of your life. And the reason it will spill out to the rest of your life is that you're sending the message to your inner artist, to your subconscious at the same time, that it's okay to take time for yourself and to express what you want to say creatively. So then next time you're in a work situation and you don't have the confidence, well, to say what you want to say, well, you will have trained this part of you to be like, it's okay. If I want to say something, I express it. So that's the exercise that I have for you regarding the inner artist. We plan to go more in details, but time is short. So let's move directly to the Peace Finder. But if you have some questions, please use the chat. We monitor this.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Arnaud. So to transition to the Peace Finder, I have a question for you about this inner artist. Do you all remember this time? Because there was a time when you were a kid when you were able to create things and show them to people and not care what happened. There was a time when you were a kid that you were able to play just for play's sake, for no purpose. You were able to build a skill, not because you were trying to make money out of it or because you had some goal, but just because it was fun to you to practice and do things. So, that's what confidence looks like, So all of us were creatively confident at some point in our lives, but we lost it. And we shut it off. We closed down this part of us because of adult responsibilities and to make practical decisions, and because we didn't think it could bring us money, or because our parents didn't want us to do it, or because society said we shouldn't do it, or because we had no idea in our minds about how we could do it. So we were scared to try to do it. So almost every one of us has a story of this deep, creative, playful thing inside of us, the inner artist, that we cut ourselves off from. And that cutting off is actually one of the reasons you don't have confidence, because at some point in your life, you decided that your inner expression was not okay. And that's the transition we make. That's why this exercise helps you. And that's the transition we make into the Peace Finder. Because what I have learned, okay, that's weird. That's the wrong slide. What I have learned in many, working with many clients on emotional healing and trauma release, because that's one of the things I'm an expert in, is how to actually heal your emotions on the inside and how to actually release trauma from your body so that certain situations that bother you, they don't bother you anymore, because there's something that the thing inside of you is healed. What I've learned working with so many people on that type of activity is that the things that upset us today all come from wounds in our past. So the reason you don't have confidence today isn't because the situation in front of you or the situation in your work is insurmountable, or because you're not capable, or because you're not good enough for it, or because you don't know how to do it. That's not the reason you don't have confidence. The reason you don't have confidence is because somewhere early in your life, you learned through some experience you had, through some event that happened, or just from the repeated messages you got, that you aren't capable, that you aren't good enough, that you need to shut down your expression, that you can't just be yourself, that you have to change yourself. The essential message you got, and all of us got growing up, was you're not okay. You have to change something about yourself. You are wrong. And when we still have those wounds, that hurts. When we're a child and we receive that feels like, oh my God, we're disconnected from love. Our nervous system says, oh my God, our survival is threatened because our caretakers don't actually love us. Something is wrong with us. That's how the nervous system reacts to that. So as long as those wounds are active, it's very difficult to take the bold action in life that we want to take. So the peace finder helps us how to deal with that. We have to bring peace to these wounds. And how do we bring peace to these wounds? Is we give these wounds the opposite experience of what wounded them in the first place. So instead of telling them there's something wrong with them and they need to be changed, we actually just accept them and love them exactly as they are. So the short version of this is, in any situation that you're having trouble and upset or lack of confidence, see if you can find the initial wound inside of you, sit with that wound, love that wound. That charge of the wound will start to release, and you won't actually be driven by that wound. And all of a sudden you will automatically realize you have confidence. So here's what that looks like practically. The exercise is a journaling exercise. And whenever you're in a situation like one of these work situations or relationship situations that is making you feel not confident, what am I scared of in this situation? What am I scared of? Is it that I feel like the boss isn't going to like me? I might get fired. I might get rejected. Is it that I'm worried there's going to, massive consequences? That means I won't be able to like feed myself or pay my rent, or what am I really scared of? Identify it. What's the source of the fear behind the confidence? And then how old am I in that feeling? This is sometimes a tricky question for some people, but most people, when you just sit with it in a journal, you can find the answer. How old am I in that feeling? You might discover that, oh my God, this is the same feeling I had when I was a teenager. Oh my God, this is the same feeling I had when I was 5 and I was going into school for the first time. And when you find just the youngest version of yourself, can you just sit with that part of yourself, not try to change it, just be with it and love it and see what happens? And you can do that with your journaling. You can just write what it's saying, write what it's feeling. And you will notice that things start to shift. If you don't try to change it, if you just accept it, things start to shift. And you will naturally find more energy for doing bold actions because the wound is not there driving you anymore over time. So I don't have any more time. I mean, this is a whole presentation in and of itself, but even if you just try that journaling exercise, you will get lots of value from it.
Yeah.
So let's keep going to the Flow Master. Sorry,
David,
Arnaud.
I think at this point we need to check with all the attendees and with Gabi, who organizes this, how we're doing with time, because we're supposed to take questions in 2 minutes and we have so much more to cover. So I'm not sure how to do it. Gabi, what do you think? Would it be possible to extend for maybe 10 minutes?
I'm afraid we have to wrap up at 7. But maybe we could extend a little longer for anyone who has to leave, maybe early or at 7 sharp, if you want to send your questions to the chat box so the guys can answer you right away. But as I mentioned again, the session is being recorded. So if you have to leave, we can send you the recording afterwards so you won't miss out on anything.
Okay, great.
Okay, because
so why don't
we have this exercise that we wanted to do that I think would be good, even if we make a short version. I mean, do you think we could do it in 5 minutes? I think it's possible. But...
Yeah. Let's do the exercise. Everybody gets that experience in 5 minutes, and then we'll stick around. I'm happy to stick around for questions.
Yeah, me too.
After the hour switches. So if anybody has questions, you can stick with us after the hour, and we'll be happy to stay and answer those. But let's jump forward then and put all this together. I mean, we wanted to do a little summary. We wanted to get your key takeaways so far, but it was a little bit ambitious giving you all this stuff. So let's just make sure you have a chance to experience it yourself. So as I mentioned earlier, when you can see yourself or see someone doing what you really want, it helps you take that bold action because you believe it's more possible when you actually experience it firsthand. We also told you that you already have the inner child inside of you, and you just cut off this energy. We've been telling you already have the peace finder inside of you. It's just a matter of cultivating that energy. So there is a version of your future self that is already beautifully confident in the areas of your life you would like to be more confident for. And we're going to access that now. So get a pencil and paper, because you need to write down some things that come out of this visualization. And we're just going to do a quick visualization together. So I'll just take a minute to make sure everybody has something to write on. And while you're getting your thing to write on, I invite you to just put your feet flat on the ground, wherever you are, or if you're sitting cross-legged on the floor, that's okay. I invite you to put your spine straight up and down. And I invite you to close your eyes and just start breathing really deeply. Breathe more deeply and more slowly than normal. And as you breathe deeply, start to scan your body from the top of your head down to your feet. And just start scanning your body for tension. Where are you flexing muscles? Where are you too tight? Where can you let go a little bit more into the chair? Breathe deeply into any areas of tension. Use your breath to massage those areas of tension from the inside. Breathing deeply into those areas of tension and relaxing them a little bit more. With your eyes closed, I want you to imagine your body now. How do you know your body is there without moving, without looking? You can get a sense of it. And in your imagination, just see yourself looking down at your body. And see yourself in the room that you're in. You see the whole room around you. You see your body there. But it's a slightly different version of the room. It's a more still version. It's somehow crackling with possibilities. This version of the room that you're sitting in is energized in some way. And you can feel a presence on the other side of the door of this room. And this presence is, you can feel it. It's the most confident version of you, your future self. And this version of you walks into the room. Notice how they look. Notice how they move. Notice how they're interacting with you. You can feel their energy. You can feel this sense of bold action and belief in possibilities just exuding from them, just shining off of them. You can feel that energy rising in your own body. And you decide you want to ask a question. And you're just going to take a minute to have a dialogue with your future confident self. And you ask them, what can I do in my life right now to embody this beautiful, bold confidence? And see what they say. They might speak to you in words. They might give you a feeling. They might make a motion with their bodies. They might give you something. And usually your first instinct is the best. And this is a short version of this. So whatever happened is perfect. Thank them for being in your life. Thank your own body and energy for rising to meet this confident future self. And now close your eyes. I mean, open your eyes and come back into the room that you're in and write down that message from your future self. Just take 30 seconds and just write it down. And we'll just give you that pause. Great. So I would love, if we had more time, I would love to hear those insights from your future self, because they're probably useful for everybody. And of course, there's more things we could share. We don't have more time. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here and listening. And, I hope these ideas of maybe confidence doesn't exist and it's just about you finding something inside of you that's worth more than your safety, you having firsthand experience with someone who's doing what you would love to do, you cultivating that inner artist through the 5 to 15 minutes of pure creative activity every day to open that channel and reconnect you to that thing that you cut off and lost a long time ago. And the Peace Finder activity of sitting with the wounds that are actually the reason you're not confident in the first place. And this advice from your future self. I hope one or more of those things has been highly valuable for you today. And it was just our pleasure to be here with you. If you are interested in doing more of these, this kind of work and these visualizations, this is part of our coaching practice. We're going to offer discounts to the FemPalette community for our coaching program. So just reach out to us and contact us if you're interested in any of that at Three Spirits Coaching. And we're going to hang around for questions right now. So let us know. We have a couple notes here. Somebody came late, but they said, thank you. Somebody has to leave. But they said, great presentation and encouragement. Thank you very much, Veronica. Thank you very much, Elzbieta.
Yeah, Kirsten, right, that she would like more info on the Flowmaster. Go to threespiritscoaching.com. There are some info there, and there is also our contacts there, or you can send us an email I'm sure Gabby will be able to share some of our contact information. So if you have we've got a lot out of what we wanted to present to you today. We were very ambitious with the content I wanted to bring you guys, and we'll be happy to share more with you. So just reach out to us in any way that Gabby will give you, and we'll give you we'll do what we can so that you are your most confident self, even if confidence doesn't exist.
Yeah, that PDF on our website also explains these three spirits in a little bit more detail if you want that. But we're going to hang around for questions. So if there's no other direct questions, we can get into more of the Flowmaster as well. So I'm going to stop the share there, and feel free to unmute yourself or chat us a question if that's okay, Gabby, and we can just take a few. Yeah, thanks.
Of course, I would just like to say thank you so much, David and Orno, for this presentation. It was awesome, really much appreciated. Also the exercise at the end, and I'm sure all of us will now go and get a new journal so we can start journaling and get more creative. All of the baking has been going on already since staying at home mode. So thank you for all the inspiration. Yes, guys, if you have any questions, just don't be shy and pop it in the chat, or unmute yourself and feel free to share it with us simultaneously. If you have to leave, we will have the recording, or you can just email me on Gabby, Gaby, @fempalette.com. I'll get you the details, or David's or Arnold's emails. Anything is possible, so just don't be shy and please reach out. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabby. So are there any questions from the group?